Algebra 2, Lesson 2-3, Example 4, finding zeros of a quadratic function. So in this problem, we'll look at a word problem, a context here. Marco hits a golf ball into the air from the third level of a driving range that is 48 feet high. The function h of t is equal to negative 16t squared plus 32t plus 48 gives the height h in feet of the golf ball t seconds after it is hit into the air. When will the ball hit the ground? So we have a function to find the height in feet of the golf ball here, right? And so we want to figure out using this function when the ball would hit the ground. So he started above ground, so that's not going to be starting from 0, 0. If this were, whoops, that's too big. If this were to be a y-axis here, then your 0 would be the ground, right? So that could be your y, this could be your x. We want to find the 0 of this function when the golf ball hits the ground here, right? It's probably not a good parabola. Yeah, 0. We want to find the 0. We already learned how to find zeros of quadratic functions, right? We can solve using the 0 property. So we're going to factor it out to figure out the zeros of the function. So first of all, we want to make h of t 0 so that we know what t is when it hits 0. So we can factor out the greatest common factor, negative 16, to make it simple. And we have negative 16 times t squared minus 2t minus 3, right? And then we can factor t squared minus 2t minus 3. Factors of negative 3 that add up to negative 2 would be positive 1 and negative 3. And then now you can figure out 0. Whatever t plus 1, whatever t is for t plus 1 and t minus 3 equals 0, it'll make it 0. So that constant, if you have a greatest common factor in the constant of your terms, then factor it out because it will not really matter at the end in finding the zeros of the function. If this factor is 0 or this factor is 0, then you're going to get 0 anyway. Negative 16 times 0 is 0, right? So using the 0 product property, we're going to find the zeros of the function, which would be negative 1 and 3. But negative 1 doesn't really make sense, right? When it's negative 1 seconds, we didn't even start counting. So this is the beginning, and we're going to start counting the positive seconds, right? So t in seconds, we're only finding the 0 that is positive. So it could be negative 1 or 3, but we know in this situation, it is going to be 3 seconds. So t equals 3 means after 3 seconds, the ball will hit the ground. So don't forget to interpret your solution at the end for word problems like this. Okay, so let's look at try number 4. A baseball is thrown from the upper deck of a stadium, 120 feet above the ground. The function h of t is equal to negative 16t squared plus 32t plus 128 gives the height of the ball t seconds after it is thrown. So it's a similar problem. How long will it take the ball to reach the ground? So using the same method here, you're going to find zeros of the quadratic function to figure out how long it took the ball to reach the ground. Okay, so pause the video, see if you can do it by yourself, and come back when you're ready for answers. Okay, are you ready? Yeah, what's the first step? You factor it. Oh, even before that, you make h of t 0 so that you can figure out what t is when h of t is 0, right? So first of all, you want to factor out the greatest common factor, which is negative 16. So you'll get t squared minus 2t plus 128 would be what? 128 would be 128 minus 2t. 128 minus 2t would be 128. 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 128 minus 16 times 5. Was it 16 times 5? Oh, 16 times 3. 16 times 8. Okay, negative 16 times negative 8 would be 128. So you would have t squared minus 2t minus 8. And now we can factor this out. 0 is equal to negative 16 times t times t. What are our zeros? What are the factors of negative 8? We have negative 8 comma 1, 1 comma positive 8 comma negative 1, and then 2 comma negative 4, negative 2 comma positive 4, and then what else? Yeah, let's try these ones. Which pair would have a sum of negative 2? This one, right? So then we can just plug it in. T plus 2 times t minus 4 will multiply to negative 8. 2 times negative 4 would be negative 8. 2 plus negative 4 would be negative 2. So this would be the factor. And then we can figure out the zeros by separating them into two equations, and you'll see that t would be either negative 2 or positive 4. In this case, your time has to be positive as well. So finally, how long will it take the ball to reach the ground? You can say after 4 seconds, the baseball will hit the ground. Okay. Good. So that was example 4. Finding the zeros of a quadratic function in a context problem. So we're going to continue with example 5 in the next video. And that would be the second to last question. See you in the next video.